Local Identity, Germany, Martin Parr, Entertainment, and Connections. So let me just quickly run through those. You've heard a lot about connections tonight, and that is, I think, the central theme of this. I think John has shared the concept very eloquently. How in one way or another everyone on the planet is connected. I mean, we have the whole cliche thing, the 6 degrees of separation. But this obviously goes beyond that, and I'll get into that a little bit more very, very shortly. John also mentioned local identity, and this hit home because the images I have in this book they kind of go against that grain, to be honest with you, because as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not actually from the US. But my images are of Americans, American veterans. Excuse me. And the reason why I felt it was important to photograph those American veterans was because these are not American veterans from Afghanistan or Iraq. They're American veterans from World War II and Vietnam and Korea, and all those wars that people have generally forgotten. And the images I have, just have a couple of images in the book, represent those people who've largely been forgotten. They're in a home, they've been left there by the families, and that's about the end of it. John also talked about Germany, and I was in Germany actually shortly after the wall came down. And I'm not sure how many of you have heard of a car called a Trabant, a Trabi. Anyone heard of a Trabi? Okay. So Trabis are East German cars. They're made primarily of cardboard. They run on an engine that is a mix of two-stroke petrol, two-stroke gas, and oil. And they max out at 55 miles an hour. And I was there when these Trabis, full of a 4 or 5 person East German family, was just about to get onto the Autobahn. And you had Mercedes and BMWs and Porsches doing 130 straight past them. You have no idea. The look on these people's faces was extraordinary. Anyway, and the last point that I picked up on was the word entertainment. Now, this is very controversial, I think. But Martin Parr, a British photographer who many of you may have heard of, actually was interviewed a couple of years ago by PDN and said, in all intents and purposes, for photojournalists to be effective in developing the story, in delivering the story has to be entertaining. And this can be very controversial. You get a lot of people who go to war zones, who want to show the pain and the anguish and so on and so forth. They don't see their work as entertainment. They see it as something serious, needs to have a large black and white spread in Time magazine. This isn't meant to be entertainment. But I think Martin Parr has a good point. So with that, I just want to quickly run through a few words, and I want to hand it over to Morgan, because I think Morgan has some excellent work that I'd certainly like to see. So first of all, thanks, John. As John said, I first came across Photojournale several years ago when I was searching for a high-quality, geographically diverse outlet for the photographs I was taking. Now, at the time, I was shooting mainly for Zuma Press and Atlas Press, and for a variety of publications in Europe. And anyone who's experienced the daily grind of being a news photographer can appreciate how unsatisfying that can be sometimes. So what Photojournale made for me, Photojournale made an immediate impact on me. Its global nature, bringing together snapshots of humanity from all over the world with an impressive standard of quality, that was basically something that I wanted to be a part of. Now, a number of my photo essays were uploaded, shared, some more controversial than others, right, John?
Yeah, we Mike did a series, and I was on the Ku Klux Klan and rise of Nazism, or it's on the website for the registered members of the website. What I found is that it actually became quite popular. So I did a lot of traces and checks as to where it was coming from, and it was actually being generated by fairly unsavoury pro-Nazi kind of groups out of Eastern Europe, all over the world, and we decided what we do is we wouldn't make that publicly available. But if you're a member of if you're a registered photographer within Photojournale, you can actually see that series. But we kind of kept it. We decided that, or I made the editorial decision that while I embraced the kind of the publishing of the series, and you know, it takes a bit of guts to put it up, right? It does take a bit of guts. It actually takes a lot of guts to photograph it as well. It took guts to put it up, and then you know, it became quite popular. And then I realised, like, okay, what we're doing here is potentially feeding the people we're photographing here in actually condoning this type of activity. Whereas I think in the spirit of what we were doing is that we were actually kind of saying this actually exists in the world.
Yeah.
This is a real thing.
You see it together, and if you see it in context, you see it in its completeness, you understand the ridiculousness of it. But as he was saying, what John found was, you know, these people wanted to buy print because they thought it was cool, and that's kind of, you know, a sick message in itself, really. But as John was saying earlier, when John asked me to be involved with this project, I thought, you know, this is fascinating. The timing is perfect because I was actually just about to launch my own project, which is called the One Life Project. Now, the One Life Project aims to bring together in images, video, and sound direct comparisons between diverse cultures, lifestyles, and belief systems. So it seems like I wasn't the only one thinking along those lines. The aim of the One Life Project, and very much John's project as well, is to highlight those extreme differences and the many surprising similarities that exist between people everywhere. It's felt, or I certainly feel, that by doing a better job of educating the people, educating the public about those differences and similarities, a valuable and mutual understanding can develop, promoting more harmonious coexistence. That's the theory. Now, John's project seemed to be a natural extension of that. I was delighted to be involved. It was a very difficult process to edit thousands of images down to the select few that are in the book. It is a sign of the times that today is the first day I actually met John in person. John was talking, everything was internet-based. Now, one final thing, there has been a lot of word, which I'm sure many of you have heard about, regarding the death of photojournalism. There's a large crowd, unfortunately, that broadly proclaims that photojournalism is dead. And I'm sure that, you know, many of us who've been photographing for newspapers and so on have felt the not so good end of that. But, you know, it may be true that we have become somewhat immune to that endless tide of grainy black and white images of starving African babies, right? Sure. But what do? And even if the broader population has become hardened to such images, those babies are still starving. Disease, poverty, and homelessness still exist, in many cases much closer to us than we actually realise. So we need to recognise that to continue to establish the needed awareness of these humanitarian and social challenges, photojournalism needs to evolve. And it is those of us who understand how best to deliver important messages to audiences that need to see them, those people will continue, hopefully, to help make a difference to the lives of others. Now, Photojournale, Connections Across a Human Planet, is a step in that direction. By involving photographers from many countries, many backgrounds, many belief systems, we have reached beyond the conflict photograph. We have stepped around the images of disaster, and we have entered the everyday worlds of people we never even realized existed. So I'm very excited to meet some of the people who've been involved in this project. It's an honor, and I'm eager to see where we go from here.